Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Not to Talk About podcast, episode 12 now. And unfortunately, we're back to talk about two more defeats. But first things first, Tom, how are you, brother?
Yeah, mate, I'm good. I'm surprisingly good considering, like you say, two more defeats to talk about. But always a pleasure to be here and always a pleasure to chat. Not even if it's negative results at the minute. How are you? Are you feeling tired?
Yeah, tired, mate. Obviously, got home at 20 past 2 in the morning, straight to sleep. Back here in Derby now, so a lot of travelling, pretty much for nothing. But we'll obviously get to that. So yeah, obviously, first things first. Obviously, the defeat to AFC Wimbledon at the weekend. Uh, Again, not so glamorous performance. It was marginally better than what we've been used to as of late, but again on the wrong side of results. And just want to get your thoughts on that to begin with.
Yeah, I think that was a tough one to take because I didn't think we played that badly. I'd like to say I don't think we played that well either, but I don't think we played that badly. I didn't think we deserve to lose necessarily. Obviously, we do deserve to lose because they scored more goals than us, and we didn't um, really create absolutely loads. Although we did have the big chance at 0-0, and that kind of seems to be the theme. You can kind of sum up a lot of our games at the minute. We'll have a big chance, we won't take it, and then the opposition will score from a set piece. Obviously, I know that the Crawley game was a little bit different to that, but a lot of the recent results have been following the same trend. And yeah, the Wimbledon one was the same. And like I think we played okay. Like I say, I think if you looked at the two sides, we were possibly marginally the better team. They weren't particularly great, but I don't think they were that poor either. And obviously, they took their moments in the big chances. But it kind of went as expected. They're not exactly a great attacking side themselves, but they're very solid. And I think we struggled against the solid teams. But again, we're struggling against the teams that are a bit more fluid as well.
No, absolutely, mate. And look, they weren't anything special at the weekend, and they're pretty similar to the likes of Crew and Gillingham that have been here and also beat us. But that's the thing now. Like, all you really have to do when you come to Meadow Lane is set up well defensively. Defend your box well, and 9 times out of 10 you'll beat us. I mean, I think what was it on Saturday? It was 5 shots on goal, 0 on target, or something like that. And when you look at the past year and a half that we've had at Meadow Lane and how much of a fortress it's been and how difficult it is now, well, how difficult it was, sorry, to come and get wins here. Now it's a bit of a playground for teams. Like, they just come, turn up. Don't even have to particularly play well. You don't have to particularly create much. But uh, ultimately, we're always prone to concede, and that's obviously one massive criticism that again we'll get into later in the episode, because there's obviously plenty to talk about currently. But again, we concede from two set plays. I think one's a throw in, one's a corner. Just before we even start by getting into the details of that goal, just the way that we set up to defend these things is just I don't understand it for a start. I mean, the goal scorer for the second goal was being marked by Nemane. He's easily a foot taller than Nemane. Like, it's a complete mismatch. It's almost like you're asking to concede goals when you play like that. And yeah, look, I just want to get your thoughts on it, because for me, I don't think we're doing ourselves too many favours at the minute. Uh, you always get in the interviews after the games. Oh, we'll go and put it right on the training pitch, and then we'll come out the next week and we'll concede three of the same types of goals. And to be honest, all these words aren't really starting to add up, because yeah, okay, you can say it in the press and try and keep everyone on your side, but ultimately we're conceding the same sort of goals in the same manner, and we're putting in the same sort of performances every week. So again, I just want to get your take on that.
Yeah, I want to start by saying obviously I think that a lot of the comments online and criticism is fair because obviously the results speak for themselves, and like you say, the same goals keep happening. I do think that when it comes to set piece goals, that it's a historic problem. I think we've had this issue. I think this issue was there before Luke Williams came in. Really, set pieces were kind of our weakness, our kryptonite. Even on the Birchnell, we weren't brilliant. And I just think like we just don't seem to be a side that are equipped to defend set pieces. Obviously, coaches have to take responsibility for that. Whoever's been the manager has never really gotten us to be brilliant at defending set pieces, and I think that obviously there's certain blame there, but I think as well personnel, and I'm not blaming the personnel we've got, but I think we just haven't got the right personnel a lot of the time. We haven't really got a dominant central defender in the air at all. I'd say our best defender in the air is probably Baldwin, and he's probably our shortest of your first choice back three. So, and that puts them at disadvantage already. And you look at the teams in the league, in the National League, but also in League Two. A lot of teams have got loads of aerial threats, and it's one thing dealing with them from crosses in open play, but it's another thing dealing with them at set pieces where, like, you're right, we haven't got a very tall team, and I'm not blaming it all on that. There's got to be ways round it. But like you say, like, Aaron's marking a guy who's so much taller than him, you're asking for trouble, aren't you? And I think that if you haven't got the data to hand, but if you dug deep into it, I pretty much guarantee that we probably concede the most set pieces, as in we probably don't concede that many goals from set pieces because we don't concede that many set pieces because we're normally attacking when we've got the ball. But we concede probably every 20 something set pieces, I reckon, which is like a ridiculously high proportion. So I reckon if you looked at the teams that have the proportion of set pieces conceded from, we're probably right up there, if that makes sense. So I think it's an issue, definitely is. It needs sorting. But again, I feel a little bit helpless at the minute. I think like a lot of us do, because I don't think there's an easy fix for the set pieces, especially if we haven't got the right bodies in the building to deal with them. So yeah, it's really tough. And it's something that's been going on for a long time, I think.
Yeah, look, you're not wrong. And again, look, like I said prior to your points there, it's getting to a point now where I'm getting tired of hearing, "Oh, we'll work on it in the training ground," etc., etc. Because I mean, how many times did we hear that prior to Saturday, and then we came out and we conceded to the same level of goals again? And it is starting to get to, it's all a bit of just empty promises now. You're almost promising fans that it's going to get better on the pitch and this and that. And you're not, to be fair, you're not wrong when you say it is an historic problem. We were never great at it under Birchnell, never mind Williams. But Maynard, he's obviously came in and the key identity was to short the defence. And at the start of his reign, it looked like we were going that way, and now we've just. It's just like we've completely unstuck again, and to obviously sort out the defensive issues. It looked like he put it almost was like the attacking side of the game in our system has just completely died. Like obviously, like Jody, your Maccas, your Dan Crawleys, etc. They're just not as effective at the minute. Obviously, and it's difficult to watch sometimes because. I mean, obviously, we're going to get on to last night, so we'll obviously get there when we get there. But you take Saturday for an example against Wimbledon, to have five shots at goal in with the players that we do, with what we've been used to them doing. I'm just not sure how anyone can look at that and think that's acceptable. Again, I'd understand if you were playing against one of the league's obviously better teams. Obviously, Wimbledon are playoffs right now, but you'd have a few teams ahead of them. And again, I'd understand if it was a team of high quality in the higher division, but it wasn't. And to now, it's disappointing because we were so used to winning games in Meadow Lane, and we were so used to coming in and being a fortress. And now, like I said, it's a bit of a playground for teams. You don't have to play particularly well. You just have to organise yourself well and take your chances. And Wimbledon didn't create many. Even their fans were saying at half time, they couldn't hit a barn door, etc., etc. And they came out and scored 2 goals in the second half. And that you start to look around, and there is a few people that you can blame. It's not just the manager, and I will be addressing them blames in this episode. Don't worry about that. But I honestly don't know where we go from here, and I would love to know where you think we're going from here.
Yeah, I think that you're right about the attacking threat. I think there's loads of factors. I think firstly, we have improved some things defensively. I think we're less vulnerable, I think, to counter-attacks. I mean, that's kind of like, I think everyone would agree. I hope that's how I see it anyway. We do that ball over the top into the channel is less now. But then I guess that has probably highlighted our other frailties, which are crosses and set pieces now look even worse. So I guess it's like you've gone up here with one thing, but then you've gone down the other side and got worse at another thing. So there's that to it. I think as well, yeah, we have looked less threatening attacking. I think some of the teams we played are good. Like we've we've got to give some credit to opposition teams. Like we said, all you have to do is be organised, but that is easier said than done, as we know, because we've not been that well organised at times. And of course, like Wimbledon have kept a lot of clean sheets, so I guess breaking teams down has been difficult, and definitely the step up all season has been difficult to break teams down this year. But at the same time, we are the second top scorers, I think, in the league or something like that, and we have lost a little bit of edge. I think we have created chances, like Maka had that chance against Wimbledon. He had the one against Wrexham as well. Obviously, he's had the goal ruled out and the goal against Mansfield. But I guess it comes from confidence, and I think that's one thing that everyone would agree with. You do look like less on confidence, and with more confidence, you take those chances. And I'm not sure where that confidence can come from, because it's difficult to pick it up when you're dropping points. But yeah, I think we have created a decent amount. It's just we haven't really taken them. I think other than last night, where it's the opposite, where we did take a few chances and we took one chance that we kind of created. So it's difficult to say, but yeah, you can't dispute the fact that we do look less threatening, because we do, and we're scoring less goals because we are, and that's obvious for everyone to see, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Look, let's move on to Tuesday night now. So obviously that's fresh in the memory of everybody, and all I can really say is, to begin with on this one, is first and foremost, massive shout out to Sam Slocum, who had an absolute game of his life, and he was completely let down by what was ahead of him. To go to Crawley Town and concede 30 shots on your goal is, I am still, I don't even know how to describe it, because it shouldn't happen. Again, it's Crawley. They're obviously a lot higher than us now. It's not hard to be, and but look, 30 shots away from home, I don't completely understand if you went to if it was like an FA Cup tie, you was playing a Premier League side away. They're the sort of stats I'd expect to see. But you're playing someone in your division, not only just someone in your division, but someone you've played twice already this season and beat both occasions, and you've gone away and you've conceded 30 goals, and not 30 goals. Jeez, if it was 30 goals, bloody hell! Obviously 30 shots. And again, look, I think it just shows that, for me, just shows how quickly we are falling. We've declined so much and so quickly, so soon. It's not just Stuart Maynard's fault, don't get me wrong. And like I said, I will be listing who we can blame in this episode, because the past few weeks it's been, everyone knows who you can blame, but to be fair, I just had it up to here now, and I think there's just some things I need addressing. So obviously, just begin with 30 shots on goal against Crawley. What was your initial takes on that?
Yeah, people are going to hate me saying this, because people used to get annoyed with Luke Williams for saying this, but I would like to start by saying I think Crawley are a good team, and I think that I completely get your point. We shouldn't concede 30 shots on goal against any team. I do agree. I do think that Crawley are one of the better. They're on the cusp of the playoffs. They've exceeded expectations this season. Everyone thought they'd finish last. They've kind of done the opposite of what we've done. Everyone thought we'd finish high up, and we're down towards the bottom end now, and they've gone the opposite way. But I think that they play good football as well. And I know it sounds awful to say that I hope they do well or whatever, but I do like teams that play good football to do well. And obviously I didn't want them to get anything last night. Don't get it wrong, but they are a good team, and I do hope they go on and do well. And I like their manager, and I think all those positive things. But like you say, and that, like I say, and I understand people are going to think, oh God, you're just saying, deflecting from us. No, I'm not taking anything away from the fact that Sam Slocum kept us in that game last night. He had probably his best performance in a Notts shirt for a long time. One of his best performances, he pulled off some unbelievable saves. He was even good, when we were on the ball. He was good the whole time, and you can't really blame him for anything. I thought he was fantastic. And when your goalkeeper is your best player, it always rings alarm bells, doesn't it? If your goalkeeper is the man of the match, or the player that's kept you in it, it means the other team has been battering you. And I know we're going to get onto the red card and we're going to get onto the subs, but I do think Crawley deserved to win last night, and that speaks about them being a good side, but it also speaks volumes about us, because like you said, we've beaten them twice this season. And they were 50-50 games that we came out on top on. They were end-to-end kind of games. Last night was less end-to-end. It was a little bit at times, but towards the end it was more down our end. Hence we conceded 30 shots on goal. So look, yeah, it's not good enough, is it? Conceded 30 shots, and ultimately they only scored 2 of the 30, but that was all that mattered, and it was kind of, you felt like we were hanging on, and when you go down to 10, hanging on is even more difficult. So yeah, I think that I would like to praise Crawley, but at the same time, you have to look at ourselves and say, yeah, 30 shots against any team in the same division, like you said, is it isn't good enough, I think.
No, look, obviously you touched on the red card there, and obviously that at that point it probably does change the game. But to be fair, the game was only really going in one direction anyway, with 11 on the pitch. And look, Crawley set up well, and they played good football. And they're the only two things you have to really do against us to beat us at the minute. That's the saddest part, you know. You don't even have to have an element of luck, because naturally that will come with just the amount of mistakes that we make. So, and look, it's hard to even come on here and just like explain, because I tweeted it last night and I'll say it again on here. Like, it's not nice at all seeing the same disappointed faces leaving stadiums week in, week out, and I'm not sure what's happening on the pitch. Like, even if it's not the manager's philosophies you're not buying into, take a look around you. You know, you go at home, you play at home, and you've got gates of 10,000, 11,000. There's teams in this division that would absolutely die to have that sort of attendance, and just make it look like, even like I said, if you're not going to buy into the manager's philosophies, play for your supporters. Because at the end of the day, I've said it again on this podcast before, and I've said it online. These supporters will be here long after you've gone, and if you're not going to pull your weight about it, they're not going to be bothered in the slightest to see the back of you, no matter how good you think you are. And it's as simple as that. If you've got your eyes elsewhere, if you've got your mind elsewhere, if you can picture yourself playing for another team at the end of the season, just leave, because this football club, for me, is one of the biggest in the lower tiers of the EFL, especially. And someone replied to me on Twitter the other day saying that there's not too many moves bigger than this, and that is true. Like, you're playing in your home games are in 20,000 capacity stadium, you know, again 11,000 gates, and it's the same. It's the same 11,000 that turn in, week out. You know, we're not a team that has this. You know, or you get promoted and then you get people jumping on the bandwagon. The people that you see, maybe the older generation of these Notts fans, they've been here for their whole lives. This isn't a football club that you can just join and be on the bandwagon straight away. You know, this is a club that people grow up supporting, and even the younger generation now. And look, this is what I mean. The club speaks so much about enticing the younger generation and making them want to come back. If any younger generation's first game was Wimbledon on Saturday, Crewe at home, Gillingham at home, they are never coming back, because it was embarrassing. It's as simple as that. And this is what's happening now. And this is my first bit of rant, if you like, of the episode. We speak so much about season ticket sales, and yes, it was a massive increase this season, because obviously last season was brilliant, and no one can disregard that. It was brilliant work. But at the end of the day, if we conclude the season now, how we've been over these past 10 games, them sales ain't going to hit the same heights they did in the summer that's just gone. And the whole philosophy of the club, one of the massive parts of the philosophy is constant growth. That's a decline. So I'm not sure how you're going to manage this now. I don't know how much longer you can give it at this poor form before something has to change. I'm not saying dismiss the manager, but again, the players at the minute are clearly not buying into what he's trying to do, and I think that was massively shown by last night, when obviously we've gone 1-0 up, and even as soon as we scored, we've kind of just gone completely defensive, try and play out for 1-0. Didn't work. We've lost again. We've conceded 30 shots on goal against Crawley Town, and it is just simply not good enough at all. It's as simple as that for me. I'm not sure about you, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. I think you've put out the fan base's frustrations really well there, and I think that you make a good point about the gates and the attendances, and yeah, like, play for a bit of pride. You know, I don't doubt the players. You know, I think any player goes to a game wanting to win, don't they? You know yourself when you play, but Something that there's things that aren't good enough, and like, yeah, you've mentioned it a few times, and there has to be criticism of a management team who have come in and haven't got points on the board. And last night I didn't think we played particularly that well. As you said, we conceded that many shots on goal. Obviously, we did create a few ourselves, but it has to be criticism of them. But of course, at the same time, there's criticism of players, and I think that their hands are tied a little bit in some ways. We've got more injuries now. We seem to have more injuries than ever. We just seem to lose a player all the time. Bostock's obviously out, McGoldrick's out, and when we lost Robertson with the red card, you then have to look to the bench, I guess, to bring on a midfielder, and you've got Colquitt who came on, and again, I don't want to dig at someone individually. I don't like doing that, but he didn't look at the pace. I don't know whether that's because he's not good enough or whether he's been injured or what, but he didn't perform well. I know it's only a cameo and it's difficult to come on when you've got 10 men and look good, but some of his actions left a lot to be desired. So I feel for them in a way, in that way, because that bench last night looked so light, didn't it? And yeah, like you say, it's like the gates probably will drop, and the issue I've got is, what solution is there? I don't know if there is a clear solution, and like you've mentioned, there's not too many more losses you can keep going. The next couple of games are massive. And the easy solution, of course, always the manager is the fall guy, because it's the easiest thing to change. You can change the manager, but you can't change the players right now. You have to wait until the summer to change the players. But I think that they're going to be changed anyway. So it's kind of like, what do you do? What's the right decision? And I don't know at this point in time. For me, I'd like to see the summer and see what can be done. But I do understand that if we lose the next three, the pressure's only going to keep mounting. So it's a really difficult and situation at the minute, and a little bit helpless, I would say, in a weird way, which is a horrible feeling to have in anything in life, especially in football.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad you mentioned the Charlie Colquitt there, because brings me on to my next rant. And look, Richard Montague, what on earth have you done with this recruitment this season? And I mean this in the nicest way possible, right? That he has made some of the biggest mistakes of the season so far. I mean, with no disrespect whatsoever to Charlie Colquitt, right? How on earth did we look at this player and think that is a player that can come in and strengthen our team? It was, for me, that is the biggest panic signing for a long time. A long time. That for me screamed, we've missed out on targets and we needed to get someone through the door. That's what it was. So he's played 20 minutes and it's been the most unconvincing 20 minutes of football from any Notts County footballer I've seen for a long time. And that's being nice about it. And it brings me on to the recruitment all season. I mean, look, we haven't been helped by injuries, right? You can't predict them. And when you lose players like Matty, Badge and Kedwin, it's difficult. But what you can at least do is try and replace them. You did it well with Matty Palmer because you brought in Scott Robertson, who, despite getting sent off last night, I think he's been brilliant. There's been absolutely nobody brought in of the same sort of quality and abilities of Kedwin. And there's been absolutely nobody brought in of the same versatility of being able to play in the centre of midfield and the centre of defence as Geraldo. And it just makes you think, like, what on earth did we do? Especially prior to January, what was the plan? Because for me, it stopped, like, take Colin Keeley, for example. That was a clear target for Notts. A clear target. We had so many bids rejected. And for whatever, the asking price can't have been as much more as what we was willing to pay. For some reason, we haven't paid it and we've lost out. If that is your key target and you are serious about challenging, and for the disclaimer, by the way, this isn't just my belief. Everyone who's came out from the club in the summer, whether it was a board, to the manager, to the players, there was one common denominator between every reply to what you expect from this season. That was to be challenging for promotion. We ain't challenging for no promotion this season now. That's completely good. That's completely been. We had the chance. January was the big chance, and we failed so miserably in January. It was unbelievable. And it all stemmed from poor recruitment. And I feel so sorry for Jata, right? Because he's going to have the biggest question marks above him because of obviously the 125k price tag. But ultimately, if we had players that were fit, i.e. your Junior Marias, obviously Kedwin can't be helped, but Kedwin hasn't been in the squad for a while, whereas Marias comes back for 10 minutes and then you don't see him again for 7 games, and he comes back for 10 minutes and then you don't see him. It's not Jata's fault that he's been thrown in the deep end. And last night, to bring him on for Maka in the 90th minute for 8 minutes at a time was the wrong decision for me completely. You're chasing the game at 2-1, you take off the defender, you touch Jata on, and you just aim for long balls in the box, play for a knockdown, and there's no better player in this division for a knockdown than Maka, because he will score 9 times out of 10, no doubt about it. But the recruitment has been appalling. It is no, like I said, you can't predict injuries, and it's impossible to try. It's impossible to replicate the players that we've lost for injury. But you can at least try. You know full well that you don't have a big loan. You don't have too many loans. You can't have too many loan signings, and we've wasted both of ours for a goalkeeper, Ashby Hammond, who won't even play again now probably because Slocum will probably finish the season, and Colkett, who is how did he get signed? I mean, he didn't even get in the crew team. And how is that a player that you want to not scout? I honestly, I really want. I expect some form of statement at the end of the season, apologising for getting it all wrong, because it baffles me. And you know what, as well, right? I said it might have been missed targets. It quite clearly was, because we were so heavily interested in Jamie Jellis as well, and I don't know if we bid it or not, or if the asking price is too much. But again, if you're serious about being successful this season, you would have paid that, especially if that was your man, your target, the one that you wanted for so long. Never, ever signed for us. And he's gone to Walsall. And now look at Walsall. They're flying. I mean, they were playoffs. I'm not too sure if they are now. I've not checked. I don't really like looking at the league table, surprisingly enough, because funnily enough, it's a lot different to when I did enjoy looking at it, which was when we were in the playoffs. So I don't know what you think of it, but honestly, the recruitment has let us down massively, and it's not just. And when I say us, it's not just the fans; it's the players on the pitch, the players that did so well last season, and it's Maynard as well. It is Maynard, because ultimately everyone knows that the manager doesn't have too much say in recruitment, and obviously it can work like it did last season, but also it can fail like it has this season. And I don't know what you think about that, brother, but I'd love to know.
Yeah, I think you've made some excellent points, and it's actually sparked a few thoughts of my own, so bear with me if I go off on a tangent and a rant-ish, I suppose. But the first thing to mention is you mentioned Conor Keeley there. We could have got him. If we wanted him, we could have got him. You know, A, we could have paid the price tag, like you said. B, he was on a free in January. He was on a free. We could have had him. We could have signed him, and we didn't. Instead, we signed a centre-back on loan who almost fell through because we had no manager. And then obviously he came through the door. Unfortunately, he's obviously picked up an injury. Again, signing players that aren't quite fit, haven't played a lot, and that's going to come on to another point that I'm going to make. But the other thing I wanted to quickly mention was Stockport. You know, there's so much of them you can follow and their model because they came up the season before. But one thing I think they've done really well was they announced a loan signing last night. They signed him in January on loan, because obviously that's the window, and they waited till last night to announce him because he wasn't fit until last night. A lad on loan from Man City, Ben Knight. Could we have not done that with Charlie Colkett? So we then last night before the game we announced, right, Charlie Colkett is we've signed him on loan in January. I appreciate maybe Crew might have something to say about that and they want to announce to their fans, but let's say we didn't. We're paying his wages, I would assume, because there's no other reason why Crew would let him go. You know, a team at this level aren't going to loan out a player for free to a rival in the league. Could we not have announced Charlie Colkett when he was actually fit, rather than announcing him and then waiting a month to see him? You know, just raise the expectations, raise the pressure on him, and there's that. The other point I wanted to make was about signing players that aren't fit. And it's a little bit like the analogy I'm going to use, and I like to say bet responsibly if you're going to bet, right? But it's like when you first put your bet on when you're 18, you can first start gambling and you get a big win, right? That's when they get you get hooked, you get addicted. We have done the same with Jody Jones. We've absolutely gambled on signing Jody Jones. He's come through his injuries. He's been absolutely unbelievable for us, and we've done brilliant. We've tried to do that over and over again since with injured players that we signed, and it hasn't worked. Junior Marias wasn't fit when we signed him, hasn't worked. Will Randall has had injury proneness, and by the way, this isn't a criticism of those players. It's not their fault that they're injured, but it's a fact. Will Randall had it when we signed him. Sutton fans questioning him. The one thing they didn't, they couldn't question his work rate, his effort, his injury record. Signed him, hasn't worked. Charlie Colquitt wasn't fit when we signed him. Based on the 20 whatever minutes we've seen of him, hasn't worked. Jatta, we signed him. Clearly wasn't fit in the off season in January. Their season restarts in March, hence why we're now in March and he's starting to get minutes. Well, obviously I know he's not getting the most minutes really, but again, signed a player that's not fit and so far hasn't worked. There's other ones in there that I've probably forgotten, but it feels a little bit like with Jody Jones, we've hit goal, we've hit the jackpot, and it's like, okay, we've done that once now. Every player we sign that's injured, we can turn into a gold mine. We can take a player that's had a promising career, like Charlie Colquitt was once a really promising youngster. He's had injury problems, but we can turn him into the player he was, like we have with Jody. It's not going to happen every time. A little bit like when you put a bet on, you're not going to get that one that was 50,000 to 1 comes in. Never going to happen again. So, to me, with gambling and with recruitment, you can't take risks like that, especially in January when, like you say, everything hinged on it. And look, I'm not going to lie, at the time, I thought that some of the signings could be promising. Scott Robertson's turned out to be the best signing from January. Jayden Warner's obviously been injured, not seen. Ashby Hammond, like you say, unless Slocum gets injured, won't play again for this football club. So, yeah, and obviously there's got to be criticism, not just of recruitment. I'm not saying it's all on their door. And there's been some fantastic pieces of recruitment this season. Like we mentioned, Scott Robertson. Like we mentioned, Jody's on a permanent. Dan Crowley obviously has had his merits as well. But I do think there's something in it that we are trying to take one risk too many with some of the signings. And like you say, we did not adequately replace Kedwin Scott or Geraldo Badrami, who are both injured before the summer window closed. We didn't adequately replace them. So Dan Goslin's another one. I know we had to take a risk of him, but he didn't work out. Obviously, again, injury issues. So, yeah, I'm sorry for going off on one there a little bit, but I think there's certainly been questions to be raised. And that's not me saying that recruitment is awful, because, of course, they've brought in some brilliant players. And I have still got faith in them because of what they did last season. They brought in some great players. But I just think we might have lost our way a little bit and lost sight of what we actually need to recruit for.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And again, look, obviously, there's been some good transfers this season for us, but ultimately, when it's mattered most, we failed, and that's why our season's unfortunately going to dribble into an uneventful conclusion, despite looking so promising. Because when we needed it most, the people in charge of our recruitment failed miserably, and it's let down everyone who supports or is invested in this football club. It's let down the players on the pitch, because you speak so much about, okay, maybe look, you can't play the same teams every week, but we have no choice, because ultimately our bench consists of one goalkeeper, maybe three or four defenders, a midfielder and an attacker. You're not going to change your whole back line in a single game. So straight away, you have to bring on people like Charlie Colquitt, who for me shouldn't even be at the football club. And it sounds harsh, but I'm tired of beating around the bush, even though we do a good job of being honest, especially on this podcast. So, look, I'm just tired of having to feel like you can't say certain things, because they ultimately, the amount of money that not just I spend, but many people, and I mean, you're talking thousands of people in the city of Nottingham spend, especially this season, and they've been completely let down. And instead of coming out and fronting it, everyone just seems to be hiding. And that's why I want to talk about Joe Palmer as well quickly, because again, like the last we saw of him was when he was announcing the cabin bar at the back of the Kop. Ever since, where is he? What is he actually doing behind the scenes? Because I get you don't want to be the centre of attention all the time, but I can assure you one thing right now: the late great Jason Turner, if his form this run of form was happening underneath him, he would have written a statement to the fans, probably apologising, and we haven't had that yet from Joe. I wouldn't be surprised if he never got it, because let's be honest, he probably does understand that things have gone wrong, and he is massively to blame for it. You got appointed the director of football, and the only direction our football has been going in is a downward spiral ever since, big decisions were made at the club. And that stems from maybe recruitment, and not just recruitment, obviously the managerial appointment hasn't been the greatest as well. Like I say, I want Stu to do well, massively. I want him to achieve great things at this club, but ultimately I just can't see it anymore. I mean, last night the subs were just appalling. They were baffling. And as much as I'm appreciative of, the sort of position that I'm in, where, I do all this stuff online and I sit here on a podcast, at the end of the day, I love this football club to absolute pieces. I die for it. I'm a fan, a massive fan. It's been my life for the past decade, way before any of these people came to the club. So I feel like I'm just as, I'm deserving of having this opinion, because at the end of the day, I'm still a massive fan. As much as I am producing stuff online, and as well, obviously you are as well, and we're doing this podcast together, end of the day, it's not good enough. And yeah, like I said, it's my football club that's being messed around with. It's thousands of people's football club that's being messed around with. It's hundreds of people's that are going to watch this podcast when it drops. Their football club's being messed around with as well. And I don't want these people who have made these bad decisions to feel like they're going to get away with it, because they absolutely are not. It's as simple as that.
Do you think that, maybe I'll throw a question at you, do you think that obviously we've had a lot of brilliant stuff going? I know that the whole point of the where we want to move forward is making this club an experience, improving the matchday experience, and we're all on board with that. The speakers, I think whatever it was, 20 grand or whatever was spent on them. They got the new bar and the cop. You've got the new plan for the whatever is the new fan zone, what you want to call it. These are all great things to improve the matchday experience, and I get that's the point of the long-term vision of the club. But do you think we've maybe taken our eye off the ball, quite literally, like taking our eye off of the football side a little bit by concentrating on these off-the-pitch things? So it's all well and good having a bar in the cop, but if no one's coming to watch the football, no one's going to be there to drink the pints, the beer from the bar, are they?
It's absolutely that. And look, it's all well and good building this fan zone, but you might have 3,000 or 4,000 less people turning up. So, I'm not saying what's the point of it, because it's a great idea, but at the end of the day, you're investing so much in that. And, the real problem is at the minute is not only retaining these people that are coming week in, week out, because trust me now, if this continues, you will not be seeing the 5-digit attendances week in, week out. It just won't happen. People are already getting fed up. I say already like it's a new thing. This has happened for the past 2 months now. We've got one win in 2024, and after the season promise that we had, simply isn't good enough. But like you said, these things aren't going to mean anything if you're going to I get it, it's all about maximising your revenue, maximising your profits, but ultimately, what good is a fan zone if you're slowly pushing away your potential customer, which is obviously supporters? Because I think people, it's so cliche in football, but I think it's been underestimated that the supporters are the lifeblood. Without fans, football is nothing. And without fans, this football club would be nothing. We didn't get 11,000 fans from fluke. We got it from success. So don't be surprised when we have 7,000 fans because we haven't been successful. Last season was brilliant, and no one can take that away from us. But this season started brilliant. Well, it didn't start brilliantly. I mean, we got turned over by Sutton. But when you look at what happened after that, it started brilliantly, and then it's just gone completely downhill. And like you say, what good is a cabin bar? And what good is a fan zone if these people may not come back? So I think they have taken their eye off it as well. Again, I appreciate the fact you're trying to create a better environment, but at the minute, the immediate target, the immediate problem, and the immediate thing that's on everybody's mind is just winning football matches. I don't understand. I honestly don't understand if they're content with what's happening, then that just get rid of all of them. Just get rid of everyone you've hired for the ball. Because if they're content with how this season is going, how it's going right now, they shouldn't be at this football club. Simple as that. Again, I appreciate what you're doing. You're trying to create a better environment. But these supporters deserve better than 1 win in 10, 1 win in 2024, especially when you consider how much travelling we've already had to do this year, how much is still upcoming. It's just not good enough at all. And I'm happy that we can come on here and voice that, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to agree with us. And it's frustrating because, again, it's another negative episode, but you can't shy away from it. And it is just simple as that. And like I said, to be fair, the board needs to understand that they've got things wrong, and the only thing I care about is voicing what fans want to hear, voicing what people agree with, and maybe they might disagree, and that's fine. But I mean, if you're happy with 1 win in 10, then I'm not sure how to begin with. If you're happy with what's happening on the pitch and probably off it as well, I'm not sure how. I'm not speculating anything. I'm just going off what the clear and obvious is that the recruitment's been awful. We've got a director of football that you never hear from, which is obviously not a bad thing. But when things are going bad, you kind of want him to come out and say something, and we haven't had that yet. And I think this season is going to go down as one, unfortunately, that has been massively let down by key decisions. I guess that's the ultimate conclusion to it. And hopefully it's something that they can take on board and learn from, because if they don't, then I'm not sure where we go next season. Because again, I really want Stu to do well, but take for example, if you give him till the summer and you back him, but give him a good team and it still doesn't work, then you have to dismiss him 10 games into the next season, where you're not going to be as fortunate to have 40 points after like 20 games or whatever we had at this point of the season. And then you have a manager that will come in, maybe don't fancy 5 or 6 of these players. And especially if you have a crop like we do here at the minute, where 5 or 6 of them are constantly injured every week, then you're going to have a limited squad available again, and you're going to look at the same story next season. So if there's one key lesson you can learn from it, is that don't make the same mistakes again. It sounds cliche, but it's the most important thing for a club moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. And obviously, we know we've got another away game coming up, and it doesn't make it easy that we're playing a lot on the road at the minute, and our away form's been poor all season. Obviously, it was brilliant last year, and it's really fallen off. And I know that comes with the territory of going up a division. But yeah, I guess that I want to get your thoughts on Accrington, because obviously it's. I know I said that Sutton wasn't a must win, and I don't like using the phrase must win, but this feels like a bigger. If you're going to put that tag on anything, I'd say this one has more of that ring to it, even more so. I know that sounds crazy, considering that Sutton were bottom of the league or whatever, but Accrington are sort of. I know that they actually won on Tuesday, but I know that they've not got a manager. Well, they sacked the manager who's been there since 1999, give or take, other than 2 seasons. So they're in a complete state of disarray. You know, I know we think things off the pitch are going sort of poorly for us, but for Accrington, I think their club's up for sale. As I say, they've lost their manager. He's been there for 2 decades. You know, they're in a complete state of transition, and they're falling apart a little bit similar to us. They've got a cushion and they're not going to go down, but you know, they are falling even though they got the win on Tuesday. So I guess for me, this one's a huge one you have to look at, because if we don't get some from this one, then I think like on Tuesday night there was not too many people that we kind of expected to lose. Whereas I think you target this one on Saturday as one you kind of have to get something from. We have to get something from this game, because as much as I do think, and I stand by this, I do think it's a job for the summer. I think it needs a rebuild and a rethink and a change. At the same time, you have to have some piece of positivity and some bit of momentum. I'm not saying we have to go on a run and win every game to the end of the season now, but we've got to pick up a couple of wins. And I think this is one that you target as one of the winnable games in our last few games, whatever it is.
Yeah, maybe it is, but like for me, I've just struggled to see where the next set of points come from. I think Saturday is something you can consider as a must win, but it's completely different to the must wins that we've been speaking about previously, because them must wins were obviously trying to push us back into the playoff picture. And these must-wins now were to ensure that we don't get sucked into anything. So again, it just shows that without trying to go back on points, but key decisions have failed us this season, and it is what it is. But again, I think at the minute we are majorly lucky that this league only relegates 2 and not 4, like League One does in the Championship. Because if it was 4, we would be in trouble. Not massive trouble, but at least, alarm bells would be ringing. And yeah, I mean, a defeat on Saturday, I don't know where that leaves Stuart Maynard. You kind of sit here now and hope that he gets the performance put in for him, but I just can't see it, because I've said this every single week now, and quite frankly, 8 defeats, 1 draw, 1 win. Sorry, so whether he gets that performance or not, I'm just not sure. One thing that you can obviously nail on is the fact that they're going to be well backed, even though they probably, it's no probably about it, they don't deserve it at the minute. Even last night's away attendance, to take 300 on the form that we were, 7-hour round trip, 7-hour round trip, sorry, was remarkable. That's 300 heroes, really, because obviously, again, the form that we're on, no one really went expecting anything. You were kind of sold down a dream valley, if you like, of going 1-0 up, but ultimately you were let down again. And something's got to start giving now, because Maynard's job is in jeopardy. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Whether that's within the board, who knows? But the fan base is certainly split, and it's more leaning towards out rather than in. That's the reality of it. You don't have to look hard for that. Just look at the comments. And again, I added my comment last night that the subs were poor because subs were so costly. To take Jody and Crawley off, especially when you go level, 2 players that could create something out of nothing, and you just threw that away for someone who's unfit and a right back who made his first appearance under you. So I didn't really understand it. But look, you can probably tell that I'm a bit fed up, to be honest, and anyone watching can as well, because I'll be there on Saturday, and I'll be at every game for the rest of the season. I'm not expecting anything, but something has to give now. And like I said, if you're not buying into the manager's philosophies, you've at least got to look around, and you've got to look behind that goal at the weekend, and at that fan base that are travelling for you, on the form that you're on, which by the way is absolutely poor, and these fans that are going deserve much better. And I know it sounds really cliche to say, especially considering the season we had last season, but that's last season, that's past, this is present. We're 1 win in 10, and it's as simple as that. They deserve better. We all deserve better. Everyone knows that. We're not feeling sorry for ourselves. 1 win in 10 at any club in the country would lead to a managerial dismissal. So it's as simple as that. Look, Accrington have nothing to play for, maybe, but neither really did any of the teams that we've been beaten by. Look, Sutton obviously have their own problems, and Crawley may not get in the playoffs, but at least Crawley beat us, and we could have looked a lot better off last night, but instead we look a lot worse off, and that's the reality. And it's not luck, because it's deserved. We're not playing well. There's not really much to believe in. Our key players are clearly being frustrated. It's not hard to see that. Jody looked fuming to come off last night, and Maka walked past disappointed, and you would be, because again, you're being let down. And I don't know where it all stems from, but something has to give. My score prediction for the weekend is, I don't even know. It's anything that leads to an Accrington Stanley win, really, because I just can't see anything changing. Because like I said, there's so much talk about changing things on the training ground, but what are we actually changing? Because we come out every week and play the same way, and that leads to the poor form that we're on. So I hate being negative, and I really want us to win the game, obviously, because look, I just can't explain enough how much I want this club to be successful. I love it, and that all I care about is the club's success, really. But right now, I'm just being honest. I'm being real, and I'm not looking forward to Saturday, if I'm being completely honest. And it's a sad reality, but it's true. My score prediction, if I had to give you one, would be 3-1 Accrington Stanley. Yes, they've got nothing to play for, but like I said, if you organise, you take your chances, you'll beat us. Simple as, really.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that completely. And yeah, I echo your thoughts. I'm not looking. It's weird. I've been looking forward to the game recently, but my enthusiasm has started to wane a little bit now. And I would really like the summer to come. Also, so this horrible weather ends, but also so this horrible run can finally be put to bed as well. I'm going to be that annoying positive one. I think we can get something. Don't get me wrong. I can completely see us not getting anything like that. I'm not coming there going, yeah, we're definitely going to win. We'll definitely beat them. I definitely will get a win. But something's got to give at some point, and I've just got to keep hoping that our fortune will change. It does feel a little bit like everything that could go against us at the minute is going against us, and I mean that in a sense that we get a red card at a pivotal moment, and like we said in the show, it was going that way anyway, but that kind of like sealed the fate. So I'm going to go for Accrington 2, Notts 2. Yeah, I mean that's me being very optimistic, and I wouldn't have that prediction were we playing a team that hadn't just lost the manager of the last 2 decades. But I'm hoping that we can take advantage of that. Do I think we will massively take advantage of it? Probably not. But yeah, hopefully we can get a draw, and hopefully we can come on here next week and actually talk about something positive, because I'm sure as much as we and before you end up, we really do appreciate all the support and all the comments and all the love that the pod has been showing. But we'd absolutely love it if we could come on and give you guys something positive to listen to, rather than just listen to us to moan for 50 minutes. But I'll hand over to you to finish, mate. But thanks for joining me again. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for watching if you've got this far.
Yeah, look, just echo obviously what Tom said. At the end of the day, it's not easy. So obviously you have to come on and be negative, but at the end of the day, what was there to be positive about at the minute? Not a lot. And that's the reality of it. I want the club to be successful, like I've said. But at the end of the day, some people just need to be held accountable for the mistakes that have been made for the season. And I don't think it's hard to understand the mistakes. You just have to look at the team and look at the results. You get the results you deserve in football, but it's not any of the players' faults on the pitch. I think it stems from people higher up that you don't really hear from. And to be honest, there's probably a reason for that. They know that they've probably done wrong. I expect some form of apology at the end of the season. Whether you get it or not will be telling. But yeah, look, like I said, I hope you obviously have all enjoyed this episode, because again, it's not easy to come on and be negative about a lot of people, a lot of players that you have a lot of love and respect for. And to be fair, even during this run, I have kept in close contact with a lot of them, and to be honest, nothing's really changed in terms of how we approach each other. So I'm glad that sort of kept it at that sort of mutual respect and liking for each other, because ultimately, if it didn't, I'd be a bit disappointed if I was coming out and being honest and they took it the wrong way. I'm glad that they're just accepting the honesty for what it is, because at the end of the day, they probably know it's not good enough as well. But yeah, look, let's just hope things change for us. Like I said, it's horrible for me, for Tom, for everyone really, to be surrounded by the same negative and moody faces at full time at every Saturday. Reality is, people that go, whether you're watching from at home or in the stadium, you deserve better. We deserve better. And it sounds obviously cliche because of the good progress that the club's made over the past year and a half, but that can quickly be undone. And to be fair, if we continue in the same way that we have been in over the past 10 games, it probably will get undone. That's the reality of it. I hope it is in that way. But yeah, look, I'm going to stop dragging it on now. Thank you for watching the episode. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Since we created it, really, the amount, even online, it obviously gets a lot of love, but in person, shout out to the guy after at the start of the Wimbledon game, actually, who turned around when he spotted me and said that he's a weekly watcher of the podcast. So massive thank you for that, mate, and hopefully you enjoyed me shouting you out. And until we do this again, which hopefully will be obviously after a win at Accrington Stanley, but you just never know. All the very best, guys, and we'll see you soon. Come on, you pies.